Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in to the show. Got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we are coming your way with the 51st edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing we're about to do is get into NCAA football. Before we talk about championship game, just get into the pick'ems. Darnell's been doing his thing this year, man. He's won the NCAA pick'ems. He got 71 out of 98 right. I came in second with 66 out of 98, and Ty came in in third with 65 out of 98. So this was a close one as well as the NFL, man. So got something else to say in this one, champ?
This one, I mean, I like my percentage in this one. I should have went to Vegas. Should have went to Vegas on this one.
Yeah, man. Did your thing for sure. Well, we all did. I mean, we don't got. All of us don't got nothing to be disappointed about, but yeah, good percentages by us all, though. Okay. All right, now let's get into this game, man. Thoughts on this title game? It was a good one.
Hey, I mean, it was one. I won't say it exceeded last year, but it was a worthy sequel as far as being a rematch. Early, it looked like Bama might step on them and run away with it, but Clemson stayed in the fight, and D. Watson woke up in the second half and gave us a ball game. I mean, my hat's off to them. They showed heart. They fought back from double-digit deficits and came out on top. Great game.
Yeah, definitely a worthy sequel, like you said. Not many times the second one's as good or better than the first, and I think we got, as college football fans, a great ending to another great year. And like you said, I think that was just the memo. Deshaun Watson just turned the Jets on in the second half and play like the quarterback he is. He was making the big pass in the second half. He completed some big ones on that final drive. That now, granted, Mike Williams, great catches. A couple of times he saved Watson, to be fair, but still, just the throw was in a spot where Williams could make the catch for them. And I think a lot of credit also goes to the Clemson defense. They made some big stops in the second half. They did what we said they needed to do against Jalen Hurts. They needed to force him into throwing situations. They needed to stop the run game. Now, when Bo Scarborough went out, that was a big help for Clemson.
Made it a lot easier to do.
Yeah. But, outside of the, 25 or 30-yard run for Jalen Hurts, he didn't do anything in the second half. So, I mean, great game all around. I won't be surprised if Jalen Hurts gets back to this situation. So, nothing to be ashamed of for him. He led Alabama on a great season. He didn't pull out the win in the end, and a lot of people will be questioning his poor play in the playoffs, but the kid had a great season.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I was talking about Jalen Hurts last week with him being a freshman was just too much for him in the playoffs, and started to look like that. But this was just good overall learning experience from him. So I definitely expect him to improve for next year and possibly be back in there for the title game next year as well. So just have to see how it all pans out.
To his credit, I do feel like even just from the first half to the second half, he showed growth and you could see the game slowed down a little bit for him.
Yeah.
Because he really didn't look great against Washington, but it's just the talent gap was there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in the first half against Clemson, outside of Bo Scarborough, Bama probably wouldn't have had a lead there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But late in the especially that last touchdown, which was the run that Ty was talking about, that was a big play for a freshman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got to give him credit there where he did kind of try to rise to the occasion, but just defense couldn't seal it there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was there a key play is there a key play that you guys would say that kind of changed it over for Clemson to get ready to win the game, or anything, or what?
I don't know if there was a specific play, but I think the defensive intensity really pushed Clemson to the victory. They were getting stops in the second half. Just their ability to keep the offense on the field when you're behind, that's very assuring for the offense. So all Clemson's offense had to do was just keep drives moving. I mean, outside of a couple catches that Williams made on the last drive that were just huge, I think the defense and how they played in the fourth quarter, I just don't think you can really give them enough credit.
Yeah. I guess it's not a play, but I think the biggest game changer was Bo Scarborough going out, because that limited Alabama's ability to extend some drives.
Put
on
a lot
those
more
first
pressure on Hurts as well.
Yeah.
So
on those first and second down runs where he was getting 3 and 4 yards, the backup backs were probably getting 2 or 3. So they got put into more third and long situations where where Hurts was forced to be a passer, and that fell into Clemson's game plan. I mean, Clemson still did what they needed to stop them when that happened. So I'm not trying to slight them, but that was a big hit for Alabama to not have that first and second down key that they have there to make drives last longer and to wear down Clemson's front seven.
With Alabama was 1 for 13 on third downs that involved them being having to get 4 yards or more. So definitely that was big for them with that low loss. So it hurts, man, but just it was a good learning experience overall for the team. See how much learning experience it will be for Steve Sarkisian. How much did this switch affect Alabama? You think they should have kept Lane there, or you think it didn't play that big of a role? Like, what are you guys thinking?
I don't think it played a huge role. Just, I think most of it comes down to what I just mentioned earlier, and the fact that Hurts, the moment was big for him. And he probably got overtaken by a little bit of that. And Clemson played a hell of a game on their own side. So I wouldn't put it as much on. Like, of course, there's going to be some adjustment that had to happen, but I don't think it was like solely something to throw on the change of putting Sarkisian there.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do know that the biggest pass play completed by Alabama in the second half was a trick play, and it was not thrown by Jalen Hurts. So, I mean, I think that right there speaks enough for what Sarkisian had to work with. I mean, Jalen Hurts kind of threw a dud of a game against Washington, and then didn't do a whole lot here. So they were forced to throw a lot of these bubble screens or little dump passes for 1 or 2 yards and then hope somebody makes a play. I don't know how much that you could put on Sarkisian, just because, I mean, I don't know, Hurts just didn't seem to have the arm going over the last couple of games, so they tried to keep it quite conservative. They tried to, run plays that were low turnover percentage. And I don't know, I just think that, like Darnell said, the moment was just a little too big. And Trey, you said that as well last week, so credit to both of you guys.
Yeah. And like, don't want to pile on a freshman quarterback, but how many of his tries and going downfield did he overthrow his receiver by like 5 yards?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there were plays like those receivers had a step or two on the corner that were on them, but bad throws, you can't really do anything about that.
Yeah,
you can't play call them into a better throw.
Yeah, and I think where we also need to give credit to Hurts was it's not like he was throwing into triple coverage. They were smart throws. They just weren't there. They just weren't on the money. Like you said, just barely overthrowing or just little offline. I mean, the throws were the right throw. He just didn't connect.
Hey, Trey.
Yeah.
Before we move on, did you have any issue with like the missed pass interference call or offensive pass interference call or the pick play at the end?
It was a little bit, man. Like, it was just kind of like, how it sound right now, yeah. But, of course, I want a Bama win. But, I just look at it just overall, man, the key thing for me, I strongly believe, man, if Bo was just still in that game, I think Bama would have pulled it off. But, just with so much with Jalen, with the whole, with how he's been playing, but, with the pick, seeing that happen plenty of times in games, it happens, but, I don't know, man. It would have been a tough call for the refs either way. So
yeah, I mean, like looking back at it, like I didn't think much of it at the time of the play when it happened live, but looking back at it, like it was surprising to me that it didn't get called because that outside receiver seriously had no intention of running a route. He just went there straight up to the DB and jammed him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a play that happens all the time. So like, I didn't really get too bent out of shape about it, but I just wonder what you thought.
Yeah, it's like of course I wanted to see Alabama win, man, but it's a play that happens a lot in NCAA. It happens a lot in just football, just overall. And for the refs, if they were to call a penalty on that play or anything like that, that would have really a lot of people would have gotten upset over that. So I get it. My whole thing is this. Bama was a talented team. They shouldn't have let the final 2 seconds of it left dictate whether or not they won or to win a championship. But overall, just great play. Just pleased. With Jalen Hurts, it's just good learning experience from. My head is held up high for this team down the road. So I'm going to be expecting big things from him. So. All right, guys. I think you got into it a little bit, Darnell, but what game did you think was better, the original Alabama versus Clemson match or the rematch between the two?
I think I still lean more towards last year's game just because it was just crazy. Yeah. Just with the swings, and I don't think people expected Clemson to be such a formidable match for Alabama. So I think it was just that new factor of it, and the wow factor of the game. But this game wasn't far behind. I think if the first half had a little more fireworks in it, not even actual touchdowns, but just Clemson didn't seem quite as competitive in the first half. They had into it last year too, but I just think just if you put both games together, just the first one seems a little more special, I guess.
Yeah, I think also in the first game there was a lot more unexpected. O.J. Howard, 90% of America hadn't heard of that guy until the championship game last year. That wide receiver for Clemson, the guy that caught the game-winning touchdown, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he kind of, he made a big splash on the game last year. Nobody had heard of him, former walk-on, and the whole story got big for him.
Future Patriots receiver.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Edelman 3.0 or whatever. Amendola, who knows? But I think the first game just caught more people by surprise. A lot of people expected this to be the championship game this year, so it didn't surprise a lot of people like it did last year. So I would side with Darnell and go with last year as well.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. Just the surprise factor of that game. I think we all had Alabama beating Clemson pretty badly for that first matchup, and they did their thing against them. So definitely can agree with you guys there. All right, anything else to add for NCAA football before we move on, guys?
Good season.
Gonna miss seeing my man OJ Howard do his thing, but you know, I was expecting, he had a pretty good game, and I was expecting a little bit more from him, but he did his thing. So wanted to see him repeat, you know, the first matchup they had. But all right, guys, let's about to move into NCAA basketball. First thing we're about to get into is just your thoughts on Grayson Allen and his 1-game suspension.
Not taken seriously. I mean, if you're going to say you're going to handle a situation, actually handle the situation, because
it was 2 weeks
now he's
man.
Now he's under a little more scrutiny for pushing the Florida State coach.
Yeah.
So does he have an issue?
He had his foot raised up on somebody his first game back.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, here's my problem with it. If you're saying someone's suspended indefinitely, that means a little more than a couple of weeks or 1 game.
Yeah.
Now, I think they strategically suspended him, knowing that they had 1 game in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was very strategic by the Duke coaching staff. I definitely think that was on purpose. But I mean, I'm not going to be one to sit here and judge Grayson Allen's character. All I know is that he's a repeat offender, and they need to do a little more than they did. I think now that he, you know, in my opinion, I do think he pushed the Florida State coach. I do think there's clear as day evidence for it. I don't know how you can deny it, but I do think that this guy's going to have a lot of issues going forward. I think people are going to try and push his buttons, get him to trip, get him to push, get him to shove, get him to do anything out of line to make the NCAA take some serious action. And I'm surprised the NCAA has not stepped in at this point, seeing that this guy's still doing stuff and Duke seems to do next to nothing about it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Krzyzewski painted himself in a corner saying it was going to be an indefinite suspension. People wouldn't have liked it, but he would have been a lot better if he would have just stepped up early and said, we're going to suspend him for a game.
Mm-hmm.
But he said the indefinite thing, so people, you know, were going to, I don't know if it was saving face for him, being that, you know, usually Krzyzewski's one of those untouchable coaches, but he had let this go on for so long, and, you know, Krzyzewski, he's one of those coaches that hasn't had an issue speaking to another team's player to try to discipline him, if we remember last year. So this was one where questions were starting to build now, like, wow, you're fine talking to somebody else's player, but you're not dealing with Grayson Allen, and he's a habitual tripper. So, I mean, I'm with everybody in basically saying this was just kind of a fake suspension. Yeah, it seemed like it was a while, but the kids were on break and had exams and stuff, so he had 2 weeks off and missed 1 game. So that's really nothing. And it was a game that was an easy win for Duke anyway. Yeah. So in the whole realm of things, like, the suspension was nothing. And I think it was, like you were saying, Ty, I think it was all, like, this was all premeditated. I feel like it was all thought ahead. I'll say he's suspended indefinitely. We got 1 game in 2 weeks. And then Krzyzewski's going out for back surgery. So I'll reinstate him right now. My assistants won't take much of a hit on this. People might talk about me for a while, but I'm not going to be around where I have to answer the questions because I'll be rehabilitating from my surgery and or healing. So it seems like it was all a little bit too perfect. Yeah. And I mean, and as far as Grayson Allen goes, like I'm not one of these that's going to go to the extreme, like trying to say the dude needs to see a therapist and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. He's a player that's probably gotten away with doing stupid stuff like that his whole life. Yeah. And like back when the last trip happened, my bigger issue was with the tantrum that he threw because he got caught.
Yeah.
More so than the trip. But I mean, honestly, Ty, you think people might start egging him on to do this? I think at some point he's going to trip the wrong person and he's going to get his jaw broken. Honestly, like he's going to do it to the wrong person and they're just going to turn around and fire him. So
yeah.
So if he gets justice that way, I'm really not going to be mad at the kid that does it.
Yeah, no, and I would agree. I would not be really mad if someone retaliated because I guarantee everyone out there is thinking, when's this kid going to at least get what he deserves in a suspension? Yeah. If someone were to start getting at him a little bit, people would love it. I mean, he is today's Christian Laettner, and I don't think there's any bones about it.
Oh, yeah. If a kid gets tripped and they end up decking him, they will be like a national hero for a week.
Yeah.
Swear.
Yeah. And then the kid will serve a longer suspension than Grayson Allen.
Yep, exactly.
All right, guys. Grayson Allen, he's a junior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just how much, with just some tripping people and stuff, like how much do you think that could hurt his stock, like when it comes to him deciding when to get drafted, when he wants to enter the draft?
He's talented. I'm not sure how well he will adjust to the next level.
Yeah.
Like I don't see him. I mean, just because of how the talent level in college basketball isn't the highest these days as far as what you're getting outside of maybe your top 4 or 5 picks. He might be a lottery pick. He just might be the end of the lottery.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how much it affects it. Just because I'm not sure how good of an NBA player he'll be.
All right.
Yeah, I would agree there with Darnell. I mean, I do think he is a first-round pick. He may sneak the end of the lottery, but a first round for sure. He definitely has the talent. And you know how it is. You're always the stud on your high school team. You go to college, you could still be the stud there, but there's other people that are equal to your talent. And then when you go to the pros, you either excel or you get lost in the crowd. So I think the odds more fall on him kind of getting lost in the crowd, only because, for the kind of game he plays. I mean, he's a good shooter. He's not a great shooter. He gets to the rim a lot. And when you're going up against a bunch of 7-footers every night, getting to the hoop's a lot tougher. Yeah. And a lot more fouls don't get called. So I think he'd really have to either really figure out a mid-range jumper and get really good at it, or figure out how to finish at the hoop. So
and I question how well he'll be able to defend NBA guards.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see him defending James Harden right now.
No.
I can't see him defending Russell Westbrook.
James Harden, man.
But I mean, when you're looking at it, I mean,
that's who he's going to be going up against, though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when teams are drafting, you have to look who's he going to be playing night in, night out, and can he stack up?
So, definitely hear you guys there. So up next, what do you guys think about this Baylor loss against West Virginia?
Yeah, I don't think we can look too much into it. First of all, West Virginia, top 10 team, plays arguably the best defense in America. I mean, they're known as Press Virginia University. They force turnovers left and right. They're tough to play at home. So a lot was going against Baylor that game. But I mean, it's Baylor's first loss of the season. It's week 2 of conference. Yeah, I believe week 2 of conference play. One loss isn't going to judge what kind of a team Baylor is. So I think it's okay. It's, what we would deem a good loss. But it'll be interesting to see when they play each other later on this season, how that game shapes up.
Yeah. I'm not calling Baylor fraudulent off of one loss or something like that. It was a good game, tough game to lose, but like everything Tyler said, they played a good team that plays a style that can give anybody trouble. If you have a team that has a good press that's guarding you for 90 feet, if they're on and they're getting causing turnovers, it's going to be a long night. That's the type of team West Virginia is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in your guys' opinion, is there a clear-cut number one team?
At this point, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's just usually the idea. Every once in a while, you get a Kentucky or a Duke team that's just head and shoulders above. But right now, you can look at anybody in the top 7, maybe 8, and say you could be number 1 this week, and it would be okay.
If you guys had to pick, like, who would you pick to be the number 1 team in your opinion? Who you think's the top team?
I mean, we were just talking about that kind of a second ago, but we think Kansas is going to get the nod. They're currently number 2, so we think they'll slide up if they don't lose. I mean, for me, it's tough to say Villanova only because they aren't in one of the power conferences. And I understand, like, that's not really a formidable way to judge a team, but it's hard for me to say them. I mean, they lost to Butler, which is okay. Once again, a good loss. They were a top 20 team on the road. But if I really had to pick somebody right now, I guess I would lean with Kansas. They're hot right now. They're playing some good basketball. Josh Jackson has seemed to found his rhythm with the team. They have some good senior leadership. So I guess I'd lean toward Kansas right now.
Yeah, Kansas or UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA too. And Trey, I've been talking them up to you all year. So
yeah. All right, guys. Anything else to add before we move on? Anything else to add for NCAA basketball?
Huh?
No, I think we're pretty good there.
All right. Okay, up next, we're about to get into the National Football League. Before we get into our thoughts on the playoffs, I had some news coming out this week that San Diego is moving to Los Angeles. What do you guys think about them and their awesome logo?
Awesome. Yeah.
I still don't get why the love for NFL teams going to LA where they don't watch pro football. Like, this experiment's been done so many times, and the Rams are terrible, so I guess I can't say for sure. Like,
yeah, no one's gonna watch them anyway.
Yeah, but that's maybe it's like property values. Maybe it raises the value of the team a lot more. But outside of that, I don't understand why. It's probably just another team that will be leaving LA in the next 10 years.
Yeah, I'm with Darnell on this one. If there's one thing I think common sense tells you, the people in LA don't want the Rams, they don't want the Chargers, they want the Raiders. I mean, right now they're the best team in California. They did their best work in LA. Yeah, they're going to go to Vegas. I mean, but they did their best work in LA. So if they'd want anybody, they'd want the Raiders. I would, and honestly, I think the Raiders would best fit LA, right? Especially right now. But I mean, I don't have the money to be moving NFL franchises around, so it's not my call. And once again, just another team with a mediocre squad and probably a 500 record next year, or below 500 record next year that's going to be in LA. Okay.
All right, guys, let's get into the playoffs from last week. just how did you guys feel about the Oakland versus Houston game? I know, Tyler, you were talking about Osweiler like crazy through those texts, man, but how did you feel?
I think we got what we expected here.
Yeah.
I mean, very conservative game plan for Connor Cook, even though I think they should have let him loose a little bit. The guy has a better arm than they allowed him to show. They try to throw a lot of behind the line of scrimmage passes, expect someone to make a play. But in reality, if you're throwing a rookie quarterback in his very first game in the playoffs on the road, you probably picked one of the worst defenses to do it against.
Oh, yeah.
Houston, very stout on the front and in the secondary. Connor Cook felt the pressure early and often. But on the other side of the ball, I mean, the Houston defense is what's going to do it for them if they're going to do anything. I mean, Osweiler's not that good. He threw a touchdown, but I don't think he's that good, and they know he's not that good. Lamar Miller carried the ball over 30 times. That's unbelievable. Yeah. You don't even see that at any point in the regular season. But they knew that's what it was going to have to take if they wanted to win, so they went with it. But I even think, Tran, you called it last week, it's going to be a field goal kicker's game. Nick Novak got his money's worth, so Houston got the win. I think, at least in my opinion, that was expected, and I think you guys expected it a little bit too. You just wanted to see Oakland win. I do think Oakland's the better team. I think they're a better team when they have Derek Carr.
Oh,
I bet you enjoyed those screen passes by Cook, Darnell.
Good God. Like, just watching this as a State fan that knows the only thing Connor Cook is terrible at as a quarterback has been screen passes. That was his issue at State. Yeah. So I feel like just did his coaches watch any film on him in college? Any.
Yeah.
And 3 of the first 5 passes, they let him throw or screen.
And you also know it's a bad day when at halftime the commentators are talking about bringing in the injured QB.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, it was just a game of futility there. Rookie quarterback starting against number 1 defense, so that's a terrible look there. And then you got Osweiler, who's still not good, but he was just basically they made a simple offensive plan for him too. They treated him like he was a rookie.
Yeah.
So bad game. The team that was able to have some semblance of an offense won.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing Osweiler did was throw a nice fade route to Hopkins on the sideline and then hit him on the slant like 2 plays later. Mm-hmm. It was really the only thing he did.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Next game is Miami versus Pittsburgh. How did you guys feel about that one?
Very expected.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, I think we all called that one. I mean, the first half was the Antonio Brown show. And then the second half was the Le'Veon Bell show. So it's what they need to win. And their defense did their job. It was that AFC North defense. Tough, physical. They're going to need that next week for sure as they go to Kansas City. But just we got what we expected here.
Yeah, it was what you thought would happen outside of. I don't understand how people were trying to give Matt Moore so much credit. Like he had a chance to actually step up and do something in this game. Just from, watching people on TV, like I was shocked at how much people were like, Miami's still playing good. They got a shot here.
Yeah.
Too much of a drop off. It's like, do you know what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I would give Matt Moore credit for was he got popped a few times and he just got right back up and continued to play. He's a tough guy. There's no denying that.
He's tough.
And he makes some good throws, but he's not going to lead you to a playoff victory.
Yeah. All right, now the one I really wanted to get into, the Lions versus Seattle. How did you guys feel about this game?
This is a sore spot for me. I think anybody who watched that game from a third-party angle probably noticed that, there were some bad calls, and I was probably the first one to say they were terrible calls and that the refs are screwing us. And I mean, in the heat of the moment, that's what you see. But at the end of the day, Lions score 6 points, can't run the ball, can't stop the ball. Would have some of those penalties made a difference? Maybe it would have kept a couple drives alive. I think there was, at least one pass interference that was completely missed. Well, you could argue too, because one was offensive for Seattle on that amazing touchdown catch, which really was a great catch. Yeah, but the hand on the face mask. I mean, yes, you should make that call. There could have been pass interference on Detroit on that play as well. So really, at the end of the day, you're not going to win a playoff game scoring 6 points unless there's a foot of snow on the ground. Yeah. Matthew, I will say, I think Matthew Stafford played really well. The receivers gave him zero help. They couldn't catch. And then when they started moving the ball a little bit, you got 15-yard penalties by Anquan Bolden. So the Lions hurt themselves big time. And when you're already frustrated from your own team, any little thing by any outside force, in this case the refs, it just paints a humongous picture, and you just get super frustrated and try to blame everything. So, story of the Lions.
Can I rant a little bit on this?
Oh, knock yourself out, man. Do your thing.
Okay, so I came out after that game just I just looked back on the season and just kind of came to that conclusion that this season was a mirage. Yeah, it's a good season. Well, let me just start by saying that to say something good about the Lions. They made it to the playoffs. I think most people's projections were 7-9, 8-8. They went a step above and made their way to the playoffs from it. So you take it. You take that season. You got to the playoffs. But you look back at the season, they were 0 versus playoff teams. Mm-hmm. And the non-playoff teams that they played and won 9 games off of, pretty much every one of them took a last-second comeback.
Yeah.
So basically a game or two where a team might have made a stop or something, people's projections for this team would have been correct. And going into this game here, I was at my son's birthday party and talking to a friend there, and he was talking about watching the game, and he goes, "Yeah, I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll look good against them. I think they'll put up they'll lose 24-21, something like that." So I looked at him and I was like, "You think they're putting 21 up on yeah?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, for sure." And I ask again, have you watched them the last 4 weeks? They haven't scored but 6 points since the first half against Dallas. He's like, they'll be fine. So okay, and then they score 6 points. 6 points for 2 50-plus yard field goals.
Yeah.
So they didn't see the red zone in this game. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Ty, there were bad calls, but if you can't get to the 20,
yeah,
I really don't think they would have had a chance if the refs made every one of those calls.
Yeah, and like I said, and I definitely agree with that. I mean, if you can't stop the ball and you can't move the ball, a 10-yard penalty is not going to help you.
Yeah.
But like I said, it just boiled down to, it's just frustration. It's the Lions get to this point and then always lose. It's you just want them to take the next step so bad that you think everything's against you.
Yeah, and that was part of why I was a little bit annoyed week 17 where everybody was trying to wear the Detroit versus everybody shirts for the Lions. Come on. If they could beat a playoff team, there would be no worries about it. But their win, their best win was Who was their best win this year?
Probably New Orleans. They looked the best that game.
That's the game they played best, but was that actually their best? Washington?
Yeah, I'd say Washington. Well, I mean, Washington was in it till the last week.
Yeah, and like that was the part of the run I missed. I mean, basically they made the playoffs because Kirk Cousins turned into Kirk Cousins. That I remember that will throw an interception at the worst possible time, and that was the saving grace to get them into the playoffs because they pretty much sat down against Green Bay. Mm-hmm. So it's just like I said, this is one of those seasons where I don't feel optimistic about next year, even though they made the playoffs. I don't feel optimistic about the Lions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just about to, ask you guys that right now, based upon the season, how they look against Seattle. Like, how do you guys, you kind of already answered, Darnell, basically, what you did. So, just, Tyler, how do you feel about this team going forward?
Well, I actually had a very good discussion about that with my dad. We got done watching the game, and it's like, obviously they need defensive help, but they've tried to address that so many times in the draft. I mean, you look at the two best defensive players they drafted in the last 10 years. You have Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley. They're both with other teams. They had a second-round pick a few years ago in Kyle Van Noy, a linebacker out of BYU. He's with the Patriots. I mean, what's the point of drafting these guys if you can't keep them? I understand that the Lions are just bad on defense. I don't know if they need a different D coordinator or what, but one thing I think they are very easily missing, could potentially address, maybe not this next year, but they don't have a playmaker. They don't have somebody that can break the big play. Granted, it's hard to do that against Seattle, but I mean, look at Atlanta is Julio Jones, Seattle is Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. You just guys that can get the ball, and you don't know whether they're going to get 5 yards or 50. And the Lions simply don't have that, and I don't know where they're going to find it. I don't know if they're even looking to get it. I mean, yes, would I like to see them draft defense? Yeah, absolutely. But would I be absolutely mad if they, and I don't see it happening, somehow trade up in the draft at some point and take someone that's just a freak athlete on the offensive side of the ball? No, I would not be mad at all because, well, right now, our offensive player that could break the big one is one of two guys, in my opinion. You have Theo Riddick, well, he spent a lot of the year hurt, or Golden Tate, and he just maybe gets 3 a season. It's just not there. So what I think they need is they need a guy who can just make the big play. They just simply don't have
it. Yeah, but I mean, I guess if they want to become New Orleans, that's the way they go. They try to get another weapon. But I think they have to address some of the holes that they have on defense first.
I agree.
They could get no pressure on quarterbacks after Ziggy Ansah fell off a cliff. Mm-hmm. And they can't stop the run. Mm-hmm. And because of those two factors, they can't cover outside of one player. So they have a lot that they need. They need probably 2 players in their front 7 at least, be it a linebacker and a D tackle coming up the middle, and a corner. Like, I think those are probably the 3 top needs. They do need a running back for sure. When your leading rusher gets like 300-400 yards on the season, that's definitely a problem. But I think that's something they could possibly address in later rounds. But,
well, also something we need to remember there is Amir Abdullah hit the IR pretty early this year. Yeah. So we don't really know what we're going to get out of him for a full season. But, you said you could address that later in the draft, but I don't think they're going to go the running back route this draft because I think they want to give Abdullah more of the fair shot.
Well, I mean, and I guess I wouldn't hate that decision. Like, if they want to wait on that and see what they have there with him, I can deal with that. He, like you said, he was hurt early. Hopefully he's figured out how to hold on to the ball when he takes the hit.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. They do need a running back. I can't remember the last time they had somebody rush for 100 yards in a game.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Like they were hoping for it those last couple games with Zinner when he had fast starts, but
yeah,
teams locked that up real quick.
You know, because like I was telling my brother, like it would be absolutely crazy if Detroit could somehow trade up and get Dalvin Cook. Like it would take way too much to do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I look at who's out there, and I feel like someone like a Dalvin Cook could do wonders for the Lions.
It's interesting though, because I would rather give up their first round pick, drop two or three spots, and second and a third.
Yeah, and here's where I'm gonna really start to be intrigued with the Lions, because this is gonna be Bob Quinn, GM, was with the Patriots. Can you work some of this rounds 4 through 7 magic that he's done before?
All right, guys. Up next, get into the final one from last week. It's Green Bay versus the New York Giants. Man, I thought the Giants were going to pull it off this year, man, but my team from the NFC is out. So, how do you guys feel about that game?
It was good for a little bit, but like Trey was over at my house watching it, and I had looked over to you. The Giants had came back and made it. What was it, 14-13, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so.
And Green Bay starts driving, and I go, Trey, if they score here, I think it's ball game. Yeah. Like I think it's over. They score, they get the ball back, Hail Mary, and just didn't look back. And, quarter and a half football, it was an okay game, and then Aaron Rodgers went all Aaron Rodgers on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's funny because with that Hail Mary pass, I was once again watching the game with my dad. Aaron Rodgers throws it to Jared Cook. He drops it. There's 4 seconds left. I go, it was actually a good thing he dropped that because they wouldn't have had enough time to get up to the line and spike it because they didn't have any timeouts. I said this gives them the opportunity for the Hail Mary. Aaron Rodgers drops back, and Randall Cobb is there in the back of the end zone making a nice basket catch. Typical.
Every Lion fan to have PTSD.
Yeah, and every Cardinal fan as well.
Yep.
Very typical Aaron Rodgers. The whole game was typical Aaron Rodgers, making everybody around him look like they're a Pro Bowler. And that's just why Aaron Rodgers is elite. And they're really hot right now. So the defense is playing pretty well. They did a very good job of stopping Odell Beckham Jr. He didn't, granted, had a couple early drops, but Green Bay's just a hot team right now, so this week's matchup with Dallas is going to be appointment viewing. Like, you're setting aside everything for that.
Yeah, guys, put any of the Miami outing controversy on this game? Is that a big issue for Odell? Well, because them
on the boat
and the receivers went
okay, yeah. No, not really.
Yeah,
I think it's more just one, Green Bay was a hotter team. Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback. At Green Bay, granted, was the focus there? Probably not. If you're doing stuff like that, and the unfortunate thing is Eli's been calling out weird behavior all year, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Yeah.
It's like he's the one guy on the roster with the 2 rings, so maybe you should listen to him. But Yeah, could have had something to do with it, but I think the outcome still would have been quite similar.
Yeah, I mean they were hanging in there originally, man, but Aaron Rodgers and the squad just turned up on them. So I mean, Packers are looking like the team to beat right now. So I mean, what can you do? Obviously, if that didn't, with the whole picture of them on the boat and stuff didn't come up, we wouldn't have that to talk about. It could possibly be a reason why, you're losing, makes it look like they're not focused on the game as much, but, it is what it is. Just going to have to deal with it regardless.
Yeah, that's mainly how I look at it. It was bad optics seeing them partying, I guess, before a playoff game, but I really don't. These guys are fine-tuned athletes. They know what the game is, and I think they should be able to prepare for it, but I just think they ran into a buzzsaw with Rodgers on the side of it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anything else to add from last week's playoff games?
Hope this week's games are better.
Yeah. It was rough. I was not pleased, really. I was telling my grandma this, it was kind of like I was looking forward to these playoff games, man, but it was like none of them were really worth watching. The Giants and Green Bay, like the first half or whatever, it was decent to watch, but I was like, these games suck. It's just like, it was awful. So, yeah, definitely, man. Hopefully these are a lot better this week than last week. Should have scheduled your son's party a little longer, man. Would have been more entertaining than the game during it. Oh, man. But all right, guys. First thing we're about to get into this week is Houston versus New England. Can Osweiler pull it off, man? What do you guys think about this game?
Give me the Patriots. No brainer.
Yeah. Like Houston would have to have pretty much the defensive game of the year, in my opinion, to win this. And I don't see it happening. They don't have enough on offense. Sorry, Brock Osweiler does not have a Patriots victory in him. So
no. I'm not sorry about that. Are you kidding me?
Well, just if anybody in Houston's listening, I'm just sorry for hurting their feelings, as if they probably don't already know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could really be a tough game to watch, man. I got the Patriots as well, but yeah, man, this could get ugly real quick. So, yeah, got New England as well. We'll just skip. Yeah, nothing really else to say about this game. But up next, Seattle versus Atlanta. What are you guys' thoughts on this game? Who do you have winning?
Yeah, going to be a really good rematch from the regular season for sure. Went down to the last series, so going to be an interesting game. It's going to be in Atlanta this time, so in a dome. Matt Ryan's going to have the crowd with him as opposed to against him, so I think the game favors Atlanta, but I think the experience of Seattle is going to hold on here. So give me Seattle in a close one. I think their defense is the difference.
Okay. This one is tough for me, just because if history shows anything, you don't trust Atlanta in the playoffs.
Exactly.
No matter what, they find some way to blow up, but it seems like this game at least is set up too well for them to win. Seattle has a big hole at safety without Earl Thomas there, and they have the best weapon possible to expose that in Julio Jones.
Yeah.
And they have those two running backs, which is probably the best tandem running back team in the NFL, to at least try to tire out Seattle's front. So I'm intrigued by this game. I want to see what Seattle does to try to cover up their hole in the defensive backfield? Do we get Richard Sherman possibly shadowing Julio to try to limit him some? And what will those two running backs be able to do against Seattle? Russell Wilson will probably be himself. He'll be good. Can we get a repeat performance out of Thomas Rawls that he had against the Lions? I doubt he goes off like that.
Mm-hmm.
But good game. I think a close game still, like you're saying, Ty, but I'm leaning towards Dirty Birds.
Yeah. Oh, lean toward Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, I will also say they also have Mohamed Sanu, Taylor Gabriel. Both are also deep ball threats.
Yeah.
So they really, all their receivers are the deep ball threat.
For me, I'm going to go with Seattle on this one. You know, Darnell, you kind of brought it up, man. Can you really trust ATL when it comes to playoff time? You know, these guys look great. You know, Matt Ryan and that offense were clicking well. But, you know, just whenever this team gets to the playoffs, they just don't perform like they should. So I'm going to trust the more experienced team with Seattle. I think they're going to find a way to pull it off, even though, you know, they're missing the beast in Earl Thomas. I just think, you know, ATL, they're going to come out sluggish against Seattle. So Seattle's going to find a way to pull through. So I'm going with Seattle on this.
And I'll even admit it, I want to pick Atlanta in this game. I just can't.
So I'm the only one showing the stones here. Okay.
All right. Okay, next we have Pittsburgh versus KC.
I actually think this game is almost as intriguing to me as the Dallas Green Bay game.
Yeah.
I really like the matchup of the Pittsburgh offense versus Kansas City defense. The conservativeness of Alex Smith against the aggressiveness of the Pittsburgh defense. I think just all the matchups in this game are very intriguing. This one I think is the hardest game for me to pick. Only because, you know, like I said, with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, are they going to get 5 yards or are they going to get 50? The Kansas City defenses look brilliant this year and they've looked terrible.
Yeah,
so it's really, I think this game could come down to who has the ball last. I like Pittsburgh's odds, but I know Roethlisberger's not looked as well on the road as he has at home this year. I think I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh on this one.
All right.
I think Le'Veon Bell struts his stuff here.
Well,
you got them in the Super Bowl, so.
Yep. So we know who I'm picking here.
Nothing will, you know, they dominated last week, but you didn't see nothing, you know, that could possibly change your mind on them possibly not making it to the Super Bowl.
Well, Ben Roethlisberger in a walking boot after the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody said he's out, so I assume he's going to be there playing. And, you know, Roethlisberger's one of those guys that basically probably have to break both of his kneecaps to take him off the field. So,
he's a tough guy.
But I will say, and I think I'm at least speaking for 2/3 of us here. If Roethlisberger's ruled out, I'm switching my pick.
All right. Oh yeah, if he's out.
Sorry, Landry, but
yeah, because I mean that devalues Antonio Brown and Bell, and like that. You need that third line in the triangle.
But the thing is, I had to put that on the record.
Yeah.
I can't just 5 minutes before the game say I'm switching my pick.
But yeah, I think we all agree that's a game changing factor there. If there's no Super Bowl caliber quarterback there for the Steelers.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I just feel like also this is the time where I can't trust a quarterback that doesn't throw the ball more than 10 yards downfield. Playoff time is where you have to be able to, in tight situations, you have to be aggressive and throw in the defenses. And for as good as Alex Smith is at what he is and being Captain Checkdown, you're going to need a little bit more to be able to stifle or keep up with that Steeler offense.
I'm actually, for me, I'm going to go with KC on this one. Tyler, you were talking about early, their defense can be hit or miss. I'm looking at it, they're at home, and plus, they had a week off too. So I think they're going to be well rested for this game, and just think they're going to be at home. They're going to have a simple plan for Alex Smith to try to keep the ball moving a little bit. But I think that defense is going to end up stepping up enough to the point that they can win this game. I do have this one being really close. This can come. Tyler, you said it as well. This can come whoever has the ball last. Just thinking, man, Kansas City, they're going to have enough plays to just overcome and win this game and step it up. So I do have Kansas City winning this one in a very close. Now, this one definitely can't wait to watch this one, man. This is going to be a fun football game. Last but not least, Green Bay versus Dallas Cowboys. What do you guys think about this matchup?
Yeah, I think one of the bigger question marks here is Jordy Nelson going to play? Are his ribs too bad?
Yeah.
Are they good enough to go? I think the saving grace for Green Bay right now is Devontae Adams is playing like a number one wide receiver, and Randall Cobb is back. So if Jordy Nelson for some reason is a no-go, they still have a full crew of receivers that can still win any football game. I have Green Bay in the Super Bowl, so they're my pick here. I don't know what Dak Prescott's going to be able to do. Once again, he's looked great. He's looked bad. So which Dak Prescott shows up is going to be a big factor here. I think Ezekiel Elliott gets his 100 yards, might punch in a couple of scores, but I think Aaron Rodgers throws for 3 or 4 touchdowns, and I think Packers take it on the road.
Yeah. Just real quick, just based on how it sounds like they're not having, based on this article I read off ESPN today, it sounds like they're not planning on not having Jordy Nelson suit up for this game, but they're saying that he should be ready for next week if they end up pulling off a win against Dallas. So, just again, not expect how it sounds. Anybody still got plenty of time. He may want to suit up, but how it sounds right now, Jordy may not play this week, but how it sounds, he should be ready next week if they pull off a win against Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead, Darnell.
Well, another one where the pick is basically made already. Of course, I got Dallas going to the Super Bowl, but this is a scary matchup. The Packers are the hottest team in the NFL, and Aaron Rodgers is the hottest quarterback going right now. So, but I feel like how Dallas is built, they have the style to make this game go really quick and lessen the amount of possessions that Green Bay will get to try to run up the score. Yeah. They have a power run game. They have a ridiculous O-line that will allow for some extended drives. And I really don't have I don't have enough evidence to say that Dak Prescott will play bad. Really, I think he only really had one bad game all regular season, and how he came back from it pretty much squashed any doubt for me. I feel like he's ready for a game like this, and it's always nice when you have the kind of weapons he has on offense with Zeke Elliott, with the X factor on this outside, with very nice slot receiver going. So I think reliable, and Jason Witten can't leave him out. I just think this is going to be strength on strength as far as these offenses go. Will it be how quick Green Bay can just pile on points, or will it be how Dallas just grinds people out and keeps a fresh defense the whole game? I think it comes down to that. If Dallas is pulling off 60, 70-yard drives, even if they only end in 3, I think it's just better off for them because fresh defenses cause 3 and outs.
Yeah. This one is pretty tough for me. I'm going with Green Bay on this one. The reason why I'm going against Dallas is kind of like with the whole Jalen Hurts thing. We was talking about, you have Ezekiel Elliott and Dak, 2 rookies. The playoffs are a different beast. We all know that. My whole thing right now is, are these 2 young guys ready for this stage in their life to get ready to come out there and win a big game for their team? But the key thing is this, is Dallas Cowboys, their offensive line is absolutely amazing. So if you want to be put in a position where if you're a rookie quarterback or running back, you definitely want to have that Dallas O-line to help you out. So it's kind of just like my thing with them is, are these guys going to be composed enough to pull this game off? But I do think, they could definitely win it. But, my whole thing is right now is just, are these guys ready for this big stage in their life? So they could definitely pull it off. But I think Green Bay, just with the experience, they're going to find out a way to win this game. All right, guys. Well, just real quick with our pick'ems, our playoff pick'ems. Tyler is number 1 right now. He's 4 for 4. Me and Darnell, we're both tied with 2 out of 4. So this can definitely change based on some of our picks this week. Who's going to be in number 1 next week?
Yeah, just go ahead and write me down for 8 for 8.
All right.
You can go ahead and write it in pen.
All right. All right, guys. Anything else?
You started out in the regular season too, didn't you, Ty?
Yeah, I may have first 2 weeks. Yeah, first 2 weeks I got ahead and then I never saw it again. So
this is much shorter than the regular season, though, man. So we'll just have to see. Yeah. All right, guys. Anything else you would like to add for the show? What NFL, NCAA, or Batman, whatever.
Batman.
Yeah. Hey, if you got something to say about it, man, hey, let loose.
If I had ever watched a game in my life, maybe I would. But
is it a game or a match? I don't even know.
Say, call it whatever you want. I'll agree.
It's a tennis match, so I'll go with the match here.
There you go.
All right, guys. As always, I appreciate you guys for checking us out. If you can follow us on Twitter at DKM_cast. You can also find us this podcast on a lot of places, podcast.com, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. Just hit us up in the search engine. We should just appear. But yeah, as always, guys, again, appreciate you guys for listening. And by the way, if you like cars, I would advise you check out my cousin's YouTube channel. You can check him out at The Black Scat Pack. He has some very cool stuff on there. So if you guys will check them out, that'll be cool. But other than that, hope you guys have a good one. Appreciate you for checking it out, and hopefully this will be a good week of NFL football.